Next up, we're talking theatre and a show that gets its premiere as part of this year's Eastside Arts Festival. It's called 3 Paydays. It's from Kabosh Theatre Company. I'm pleased to say that Holly and Lizzie are here in the studio to tell us all about it. Welcome. So first of all, I mean, it's exciting to be part of a premiere, isn't it?
Absolutely. We're really excited. So this is the first time that this is ever going to be on stage, and it's really nice to have quite a fresh take on sort of the housing crisis. Unfortunately, quite a relatable story for a lot of people, but it's going to be a lot of fun.
It's a brand new script commissioned with the Arts Council National Lottery Commissioning Grant with Kabosh in partnership with Eastside Arts Festival. So it'll be brand new. It's Alice Mulseed, the playwright, has been working with the Larder Community Food Hub out in East Belfast on kind of research and development, interviews with a lot of women's groups and everything. So it's a story very much representative of people's experiences in East Belfast and across the city, and we're just really excited to kind of bring it to stage and bring it to life. And Alice's scripts are always very moving but also very funny and very relatable and hit the kind of light and dark at the same time.
And of course the thing is there's lots going on within the housing market out there at the moment, and sadly it's not a great place to be involved in, is it?
Well, this is it, and this is why Holly and myself can attest to kind of the situation. I think, as Holly said, it's a story that's going to relate to a lot of people, and I think it really kind of touches on that private rental market and what renters are kind of facing. And for a lot of people across Belfast, that's something that is at their is at the forefront of what their day-to-day kind of experience and what they're dealing with in terms of managing their kids and their experience of poverty. So as much as the development was with a community food hub, where you kind of think we'd be talking about social supermarkets and food, housing is that one thread that kind of keeps us all together.
Exactly. And Holly, I suppose the big thing as well is at the moment as well is actually getting a home out there as well, because the rental market is just crazy at the moment, isn't it?
Well, that's it. And unfortunately, you've got the rise of these private landlords, which means that really the rental market is at their beck and call. They can decide how much they want to charge. They can decide how good the living situations are. Of course, you've still got estate agents and that sort of thing and those protections in place, but there really isn't a lot of legislation that can help the private renter, so to speak, which means that it just becomes harder and harder. And now you're actually facing the situation where people like myself, like Lizzie, who have our own horror stories, you're in long-term rents and you're actually shunted out for the likes of Airbnbs or fresh renters. It's madness.
And even though these rents are going up all the time and stuff, there are landlords out there who aren't keeping their property to the standard it should be to match the money as well, isn't that? I mean, it's horrendous stories we're hearing of people living in basically poverty in these places.
Exactly. I mean, the rise of sort of, the official term is slum landlords. Yeah. Unfortunately, we're all very proud to be living in Belfast, but the housing situation, especially for young renters or people at the start of their sort of housing ladder, it can get worse and worse by the day, because up until very recently there wasn't a housing union. There is CATU now, of course, we're both proud members, but they really don't have the numbers to provide the protection for as many people as need them at this stage.
There's 10,000 people in Belfast City Council that are in housing stress, and housing stress is a term that's kind of, in a pressured situation. So it can mean they can be in inappropriate accommodation. So it can be families where kids are having to share beds or things like that. It can mean that there's so much damp and mold that it's a health issue. And that's just a really shocking statistic. There's over 10,000 people in 2024 in housing stress. And when we're relying on a kind of system where people see properties as passive income and the rest of us are working really hard to earn our money and maybe not earning the money that we want to, it's just a really negative situation.
So talk us through the play then. Who do we meet in the play? What's the kind of story behind it?
Well, we don't want to give too much away.
Okay.
But it follows 3 people. So you've got a lovely renter, if I do say so myself. You've got a landlord, a lady landlord, played by Mary Moulds, and then you have the
Stevie, a kind of a landlord assistant. So he's a handyman. He's someone that you recognise. He's the middleman. I think that's what the play does really well. It kind of explores the nuance of these are all recognisable figures, and nobody's bad.
Yeah.
It's all very complicated, it's all very nuanced. You understand why people are kind of in those situations. And Stevie especially is that kind of middle character where, yes, he's helping out the landlord and things, but he's got his own story and he's got his own reasons to kind of be involved in that sort of system.
Yeah.
And I think that that's the sense of, we're all very close in this. We're 3 paydays, you know, from experiencing kind of homelessness ourselves, and that sense of community really comes through, that, you know, if we all band together, there is positive change that can happen in a housing market like this.
And you said earlier, it's not all doom and gloom. There's some humour, and we kind of find that in Belfast plays. We can actually find the humour out of the darkness as well.
Exactly. We're excellent at dark comedy, and I think that there's a few lines in the script, and a script is always kind of a living being, so I'm hoping there's a few things that make it through. But there was one kind of presentation that Alice wrote about standing in the queue, watching the other people that are going to go view the property, and that for me felt like, yeah, all those kind of crazy stories where you hear your friend and it's like, I wore a blazer, I pretended to be in a couple with this person, and you're kind of presenting all these versions of yourself because you want the landlord to pick you. Yeah.
So Holly, you open at the Sanctuary Theatre, which for anybody who hasn't been, is just this fabulous little space in East Belfast. It's amazing, isn't it?
Yeah, it's going to be absolutely fantastic. And I think as well, we were lucky enough, obviously Alice developed it with Larder, but we also had our research and development there last year in the Larder, so it's nice to be able to bring it back to the community that sort of helped it come to the stage that it's at now.
Yeah.
I think we're going to have a lot of fun, and then we obviously get to take it to the Fila. So I think, you know, obviously it's a very stressful topic for a lot of people, but there's a brilliant comedic cast. Mary Moulds, Patrick McBrady are fabulous. And with the theatres we're going to, I think it's going to be a really joyful experience, quite cathartic for a lot of people.
So it's East Side Arts first, then you're off to Fela, then you're off to Derry then, I believe, after that.
Derry will be playing at the Playhouse on the 3rd of August.
Brilliant. Well, if people want to get more information, if they want to book their tickets, how do they go about doing that?
They can go to the Kabosh website, so www.kabosh.net, and they can find everything they need there, but they can also book through the festivals or the other venues. So if you want to give it a Google, hopefully we'll pop up as the first result.
Brilliant. Holly, who should come and see this show then?
Oh, for one, I think everyone. I think it's a really joyful experience for a lot of people sort of our age, people at the start of the housing ladder. I think they'll be able to see themselves in this, which will be cathartic, as I said, but also with the laughs in it. I think we'll be able to point and laugh at that. But also I think it would be very good for landlords to come see. I think it'll be a really humanising experience. Obviously, as Lizzie said, no one sets out to be a villain, and that's not what we're saying landlords are. But to have a little bit more of the human side, because so much of what's done these days is through the phone or through email. I think it'll be really, really good for pretty much everyone to come see it. So come along.
Well, sounds like a great show. I'm looking forward to it. The best of luck, and thank you so much for coming in.
Thank you so much for having us.
Thank you.
Gorgeous.